as well. To speak on that, to share the experience with us today, we have our next speaker. It's my privilege, it's my honor to invite him to share his experience on delivering Tekla or for the BIM project in the infrastructure domain. So I'd like to invite Mr. Ravikant from JNF India. So Mr. Ravikant is Chief Technical Officer with over more than 24 years of experience in the engineering solution industry. He is a structural engineer, masters in structural engineering and geotechnical engineering from BITS Pilani, and has an experience of wide experience of delivering more than 1,000 major projects globally. He's a good speaker. He's a regular speaker to many events, very close friend of mine. And his expertise is on adopting and implementing BIM solution in various projects. I welcome Ravikant, please.
Thank you very much, Ashtesh, for the short introduction. Yeah. Warm welcome to the session. Good afternoon to all of you. Seems to be very exciting sessions going on. Let me also add some color onto certain projects and experience we have done globally. J&F, basically, it's a kind of an engineering consulting company, which is offices across the globe. This is what is the kind of a contents I would like to swing around, primarily to talk about J&F and a basic service portfolio we extend to kind of a global market, and few of the kind of a project highlights focusing on a kind of a structural concrete rebars and bit of a kind of an MEP sector as well, and also a kind of a BIM solutions we've been propagating across the world. And one specific case study which we have experienced recently, I would like to share few of the highlights of it. Thereby, I would like to conclude with that, and with of a kind of a bit of a AI design manager, we are now incorporating within the organization. So straight away get into topics. We say engineering plus. I talk about plus later. As I said, J&F is a kind of a German-based company with offices across the globe, and we are now close to 350 people, 400 people plus spread across in India with a kind of a Delhi and Chennai offices. We have done a kind of more than 1,000 projects delivered, extended to global market. Of course, certain projects done within India as well. And this is what is a kind of a spectrum of engineering services I would like to propagate before I dive into kind of a specific subject. I would say architecture is something which is more specific to the countries. So we follow the kind of a standard specifications and we get incorporated into the kind of a design development. But however, the core strength comes from kind of a construction market. We basically is coming from the construction industry. Basically, we were supporting our services to kind of a construction market. So our focus always to look into kind of constructible engineering. So all 400 people who are sitting in Chennai and Delhi offices always look for on screen. If it is possible to construct, it can be erected on site. I think that is what is the philosophy and the basics we follow. Looking at kind of a detailed engineering services we do across all the services you mark, say civil, structure, architectural, MEP, all gamut of services and the disciplines enclosed, and we do all services from one roof. Let's say it's a kind of any stage of the project, say it's a kind of a tender, you require a kind of a bit of a support of the quantities, we are there. If you have to create a kind of a quick LOD 100 model, LOD 200 model, we are there. If at all we have to look into kind of a design coordination, where exactly is a kind of a service portfolio we are extending is something much need to be talked about. Also, when it comes to kind of a handover phase, we have done the services from LOD to LOD 100, LOD 500, from 3D to 7D. We have a kind of an examples where we can produce the models up to FM ready. A facility management integrator would like to have the models ready with all the parameters populated. What we follow kind of a COBE, you might have heard about construction operation building information exchange, where we can populate all the parameters. Yesterday, I think Rahul also was mentioning, all the assets of this particular building need to be tagged, need to be registered, and where the facility management can automate the process whenever there is a kind of a downtime. This is what is a kind of an operations across the globe. And we work in a kind of a hybrid mode where UK, Australia, and the upcoming US office, we have a representation, have a kind of the local meetings to connect to kind of a Chennai and Delhi offices with a kind of a local timings. Yes, this is what is something which I would like to enlighten you. Say is a kind of a buildings or infrastructure. For me, being a kind of a structural engineer, when I talk about the kind of a buildings is more on a kind of X, Y, Z. It's confined to an area. But however, when you talk about the infrastructure, where the kind of bridges, tunnels, the ports, airports, or much more we talk about, where things run in a kind of a linear fashion. So when things are going with a kind of a shape, size, parameters, I think that is something which we are able to position it, trying to consider those model parameters within our umbrella, whatever the kind of an application. Of course, Trimble, Tekla applications have played a kind of a vital role in this one. So as I said, like as we are coming from the kind of a construction background, whatever the documentations or the projects we get involved during kind of a design coordination, particularly, what happens is that the kind of design consultants, contractors, design managers, we have to collaborate in all these personalities and the stakeholders, and we need to federate the kind of an informations in a proper way to propagate the projects. So as the kind of a project gets on, we need to produce the kind of a documents which are constructible. I think this is what I would like to talk about, where particularly when it comes to a kind of a structural concrete rebar formwork, where the solutions have played a kind of an excellent role. These are the kind of a few examples where we have showcased, where the kind of a complete solution, a concrete rebar can be fully produced with a kind of a collaboration, with a kind of any of the kind of a steel elements, MEP, drainage, lighting, all those things can be incorporated into a design coordination phase and see that the clashes can be visualized and it can be propagated. And we use a kind of a complete the Trimble Connect solutions and many other applications to see that the visibility is there across the design stakeholders and all those things are propagated. More important is when it comes to bridges, where I would say is match cast segments, where you have a kind of a transverse PT cables, the longitudinal PT cables. Along with that, there are a lot of steel embedments. All these things can be detailed using the kind of a Tekla structures. Thanks to it, it has given a kind of a remarkable results for past 3 years. And not only that, we also can extract all the documentation which is required, all the GA plans, or your sections, elevations, bar bending schedules, any country. We work for all the countries, all the major countries across the globe. It can generate any formats, all the formats are customizable. So we can check those things and we can verify and deliver it. So this is one of the examples which I thought of maybe showcasing on a civil infrastructure. There was a kind of a very simple exercise where we need to all model all the kind of new existing utilities, where the models can be produced, any of the applications. But more important is, once these models are produced, we need to have a kind of clash check. Yes, that's also we have a kind of many applications where we have the clash reports can be generated between the new, old, the soft clashes, the hard clashes. All those things can be nominated, and we can also do that. I think that is maybe a kind of a daily routine where the teams are working with. The more important is, while we do that, there is one application which we are very fascinated, the Trimble Business Center. This Trimble Business Center, what it has played a trick. I think today's presentation from the keynote, it was also indicated that the motor grade which was used, I think there was a kind of a conventional way and the new way which was indicated, where the people have to work, and at the night time is always kind of difficult. But what we have done over here is all the kind of export formats which were exported into kind of a Trimble Business Center, where all the kind of the setting out dimensions were used by a motor grader. Just imagine that all the edge payments, the right of way information, the circle points are exported in a Trimble Business Center. This is one of the classical way. The kind of the digital data what is being worked in offices is reaching the ground level. I think exactly the Harsh yesterday was talking about the white hat, the blue hat. Yeah, this is what is a classical example where the digital models are reaching the ground level. I think that is what is a kind of a success story we all have to learn is whatever we do, it has to precisely erected on site. As I said, along with the structural and the civil components, MEP also plays a kind of a vital role where we do a kind of a complete design, modeling services and detailed design and the complete support we offer. I think we have a kind of a all gamut of services and the projects offered to the kind of a global market. Along with that, why I was trying to showcase this, recently we are also, there is one application called a plugin which is StabbyCAD. Hope you heard about that. It's from Trimble. I think that application now we are trying to embed for MEP systems, because this StabbyCAD, it's internationally, it can read all the information, the standard specifications, manuals, and you can plug it in your regular BIM authoring tools, and we can enhance the kind of a product. Yeah, that's much important is on the steel, structural steel. What's happening on the structural steel? As I see like quick dynamics, what is the market says, you see a kind of a huge demand for the next 10 years, yeah. So certainly I think the more users, more applications, innovation, technology is much needed in order to catch up that numbers. Yes, I think bit of a kind of an examples on an infrastructure, what we was trying to focus, the coal handling plants which are on the in the market plays a kind of a vital role when it comes to kind of a design coordinations, where we had to produce these kind of models with a high level of a precision when it comes to a kind of a bins. When you see kind of a conical beams and round beams and these things and the tubes, the plate modeling, all these things that Tekla has given a kind of excellent kind of an approach towards it, and we did also use a kind of a bit of a rhino's grasshopper in order to fill those gaps to see that how the surfaces can be formed. I think this is one kind of an example. Yes, this is something which we are recently involved in a kind of a very large mega infrastructure project, where our scope of work is much to review the kind of a high level models which are produced by third party, where the models which are of a very high complexity. And these are the kind of a bridge models which are having a kind of a orthotropic deck sections, you can call a kind of a trough sections, you call a kind of a box sections, and a transverse girder is getting attached. You can imagine all the complexity what it is. Along with the size, shape, the two other parameters which are playing a kind of a vital role over here is the double curvature. The double curvature and also the kind of a precamber. These two, because when it comes to kind of a steel bridges have to be erected in an urban infrastructure, you have a kind of a curvature is a kind of a vital rule. It is not a kind of a straight obligatory span. If it is a straight obligatory span, straightforward. But when it becomes a kind of a rolling across in order to navigate between the kind of a buildings, you make all the more complexity. So what I would say is, along with the size, shape parameters, if you have to control the geometric properties, the double curvatures, the precamber, we have to use a kind of a technology. Again, Trimble, Grasshopper, Livelinks have played a kind of a very vital role. This is what is a kind of a case study. I would like to take it up. And this particular project, we have to do close to around 40,000 tons with 60,000 drawings, you can imagine, shop drawings, all the way 30 to 40 engineers at the peak still working. The team is over here. The project is not complete, it's all going on. And we have to deliver with all the kind of a precision. And these are the kind of a few examples where the instruction which is given is what is given, printed on the drawing need to be checked. I think that is what is the kind of, the engineers have done a kind of a remarkable job in order to point out what are the kind of errors which are in the modeling errors or the shop drawing errors, the drawings, specifications, the welding errors, everything is properly, and this is what is the product is coming out from the fabrication shop. Remarkable. And this is something which I would like to focus much more deeper inside, especially on a kind of a case study, which is how the Tekla Grasshopper Livelink has helped to produce such models given an opportunity. These are the kind of a very quick, the salient features of the bridge. It's again a kind of a bridge of the same project where we were trying to produce a model, the Tekla model, and the shop drawings is the scope of works. It's a whole kind of a two central pylons which is supporting the kind of a whole girder. You see kind of a large curvature which is going around, and this is something which is again to select a kind of a right application is always important for us. So what we have done, yes, Tekla can do, but it has got a fantastic feature where the Grasshopper Livelink it has got. So what we have done is, yeah, this is what is a kind of the bridge which runs around. It has kind of a a bit of a deck section, which has been framed with for the cladding support, for the aesthetic and support, yeah, and all the kind of the transverse, vertical, longitudinal girders is been designed for the kind of a bridge, simple bridge, but has got a kind of a curvature. So how do you handle the curvatures is kind of a point of talk over here. But these are the kind of little components of the bridge where this is what is a curvature. I want to exaggerate it. This is what is a kind of a curvature. We need to achieve that. So is it something which is possible? Yes, this is possible. And these are the kind of various components of the bridge which we have analyzed: the kind of a deck, the soffits, bit of a kind of a cladding, and little the fill balustrades, the handrails, all this stuff, and along with the kind of a stiffeners, all kinds of stiffeners, the transfers, longitudinal, the diaphragms, everything put together is something which we came up a kind of a conclusion where, unless otherwise you do a kind of a scripting. So what we have done, a kind of a complete scripting is produced in a kind of a grasshopper in order to manage the geometric properties. Again, I would say the size, shape is done, but along with that, we want to manage a kind of a geometric properties, that is a double curvature. Pre-camber is something a challenge. Thanks to technology, I would say Tekla grasshopper has given a kind of a live link to produce the complete size, shape, member properties, all the geometric properties getting managed in scripting. So we did do a kind of complete scripting. These are the kind of various stages of things where the grasshopper has given a kind of 9 stages which we have identified in order to produce all the model components, no manual intervention. Please note, there is no manual intervention, everything is scripted. This is one classical example I would like to narrate. Yesterday, Rahul was mentioning about a kind of reusing the models. This is one classical example. We do models not from scratch, we script it. Yeah, I think this is what the script goes. I think thanks to kind of again a kind of a Tekla support team, they have given a kind of a lot of support during the kind of creating the scripting also. Thanks to them, a big applause to them, because it is a big challenge. If at all we have to get a kind of a double curvature need to be produced going to the reality, it is certainly kind of a challenge. Create a kind of a digital models first, virtually, then go to the ground. Yeah, I think this is a very high level scripting is done. Our people are got trained with the support from Tekla guys, and we are able to do that. Yeah, you can see a kind of land XML files are taken, offsetted, lofted, a big challenge. Making a kind of a vertical webs were again a challenge. We were using a kind of a surface generation between the kind of poly beams. I think that is again a kind of a big scripting is done, and at last it is achieved. So what I'm trying to say, let us conclude it. This is what is the kind of a case study which I would like to emphasize. All size, shape, geometric properties, whatever is the kind of a things, XYZ, it can be produced, models can be produced using grasshopper live link, and everything, no human intervention, everything is automated, reusable. And this is one is a classic example. I think recently I have heard that even the drawings can be produced, gentlemen. Drawings can be produced from the grasshopper. I think that's a new thing which is coming up, and we are exploring, and the teams are exploring. Of course, these things are produced in Tekla. So this gives a kind of a high productivity, on-time delivery with a high precision. This is one kind of a innovative solution, a technological solution which I would like to produce over here. I think you are always worth enough to try these links. Yeah, coming to a kind of a bit of a conclusion, I was thinking, when you look at a kind of a many tools, many applications, projects, this is what of maybe summarizing it. Whatever is a kind of a project we are talking about, all these projects, we can create a kind of a silos, models in a very specific platform. Whatever is a kind of a best available in a holistic environment, we can make a kind of a selection, and we can produce a desired results for the contractors to see that everything is coming into reality. Having said, is a kind of a very last a kind of a bit of introduction on a design manager. Have you thought that your Teams, your Outlook, your Slack, chat, or whatever the kind of applications you use in office, everything is integrated in one? This is what we are trying to do that. All this, our 400, 500 users across the world, they don't have Teams, they don't have Outlook, everything is here. Everything is getting integrated. All the data. Yesterday we were talking about a kind of a data analytics, integration, robotics. I think this we are into it. We want to see that everything, all the kind of data which is being produced is read properly, and this is what is a kind of a design manager is doing it. And interestingly, what we are trying to see is all the RFIs which are raised, which are critical, can be closed by itself, which indicates a manager can read all your emails, your ACNEX, your whatever the kind of data management, see the CDE we talk about, it reads and it closes. So at the top level, at the project management level, you can see that which are the RFIs which are critical, which are open or closed, we can get a kind of a status, and you can get a kind of a bit of a reports on a daily activities, and going forward you can have a kind of a complete 360-degree view of a design manager and do a kind of an appraisals accordingly. And this is what it is. You can also follow me on a kind of a regular webinars which are happening on a monthly scale in order to understand the kind of more insights on the kind of infrastructure projects. With this note, I would like to take a leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ravi. It was really very insightful, informative, and I think it's fascinating to see such kind of projects also we delivered within use Tekla. So Tekla, it really gives us a confidence that okay, we can think beyond